Welcome to the Amanda Hall Psychic Show here on A1R Psychic Radio on the Moonstruck TV network. It's been an amazing week, hasn't it, around the globe? I mean, I know our dear friends in the USA have celebrated Memorial Weekend over the weekend, and that's always a somber time, I think, when we do need to sort of reflect back to those people that willingly gave their lives up so that we could have the freedom as we know it today. And that leads me into the next part that makes me a little bit cross when I see people out ignoring what we all need to do around the world at the moment, and that's listen to the authorities and do the social distancing and allow our communities to start to reopen. But anyway, that's my little bit of soapbox for the day. Let's get on with the Secrets of Tarot card of the week. And this week it's the Devil card. Now, the Devil card is one of these ambiguous sort of cards that students, when I used to teach in classroom situations, used to always have a panic when they saw this card. They'd look at it and go, oh, no, I don't want to be the devil. I don't want to get into trouble. I'm a good person and all this sort of thing. The Devil card doesn't actually mean that you're a bad person or that you've got evil in your life. It can be the card warning you of jealousy or trouble, but usually it's the secondary meaning, which is able to break the chains that are binding you and holding you back. Now, we're all our own worst enemy when we say, I can't do this or I can't do that. There's no such word as can't. It's just a matter of you haven't found the solution yet. And 9 times out of 10, I find it's this secondary meaning that we're actually the ones that are putting the chains on ourselves. We're the ones that are putting the brakes on the situation. We're the ones that are saying, really, I haven't got the confidence or I'm not ready to move that way yet or to take that giant step forward. So how do I apply this to the card of the week for everybody around the world? I mean, yes, I'm sure there's some people that have got a little bit of jealousy in their life, and I'm sure there's some people that feel like they've got some trouble in their life. And with everybody that's been in lockdown and sort of all the changes that have happened around the world in the last few months, I can appreciate that and understand that. But I think what we need to do now is look at in which way are we holding ourselves back. Have we sort of not listened to our inner voice? Have we not looked at the things that we can change or that we need to improve in our lives? What are the things that we need to let go of? And that's what I think this card is asking us. Is there in any way that we are limiting ourselves or holding ourselves back? Okay, so I want to go into the candle of the week before we start talking about the astrological stuff for the week. And this week I've chosen the love candle. And the reasons why I've done that, I think we could all do with a little bit more love and positive energy in our lives at the moment, and give yourselves a big hug. Because for most of us, wherever we live in the world, we're not able to hug the people that we love and we miss the most. Some of us have been able to go and visit family and friends as things start to open up around the globe. But for a lot of us, we still feel quite isolated and are missing that affection, that human contact, that touch, that hug, that somebody reaching out and patting you on the arm. So that's why I chose the love candle, because I want to spread the love around the world this week. I want everybody to give themselves a big hug because I think that's really important. So the gift box that I made up this week is exactly identical to last week. I still think the planet needs to heal. We all need to be sending healing around the globe to all our brothers and sisters of all denominations, all colours, creeds. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, we all need healing at the moment. My angel in the sky, well, that's an obvious one. That's for to remember the people that we've lost, not just during this pandemic, but the people that might have gone in other times, other realms in our lives. It's time to honour, I think, the people that went before us and the sacrifices that they made to make this world a better place. And then the final one is the love candle, of course. So that's the soy candles of the week. So this week, as we have our little glimpse around the universe, it's a very, very interesting combination because I've been doing a little feature each week on astrology more towards the COVID-19 situation and how it's affecting us around the world. And I'm not going to change the formula this week. But where the planets have shifted or changed a little bit this week, I think is rather interesting. And I always only look at this just prior to the show because I want it to be fresh in my mind, what I'm actually seeing as like the snapshot of where the planets are about half an hour before the show, so that it's fresh in my mind and I look at it from a worldwide perspective, not from a personal perspective. And the thing that jumped out at me this morning here in Australia, because it's only very early here in Australia, was the South Node. Now, for those people that are, say to me, look, what in the hell is she talking about? The South Node is a luminary. It's a part of astrology that I think a lot of astrologers tend to ignore or don't bring into astrology very much because they say it's all too complicated and, you don't want to confuse people. But what it is, it's one of the moon's nodes. And it's where we look for taking the easy way out in our lives. Now, what struck me as peculiar or different or something that I felt we needed to talk about this week was the South Node is in Capricorn. Now, we've got two planets sitting in Capricorn that are really making hay while the sun shines or starting to help us try and find some sort of sense out of this pandemic. And I'll get to those in a minute. But when I see that we've got the South Node in Capricorn now, it's showing me that collectively as a globe, we're all trying to find the easiest solution out of this problem. Now, that means we're not necessarily thinking outside the square as much as we could do. We're all sort of slipping back into old habit patterns because they're familiar, they're comfortable. Well, we did that in the past, even though it didn't work, it doesn't matter. We'll resurrect that again because it's comfortable. Now, I think that this is very important when we start to see communities open up around the world and people wanting to go back to their normal life as it was pre-pandemic. They've opened a bar up, so all of a sudden everybody floods in for a drink. They've opened a restaurant up. Well, why can't we all sit together? Why do we have to have social distancing and a limit of people that can be served? And it's like we've forgotten the lessons or we're choosing to ignore, or it's somebody else's problem that this pandemic is still going on and it's still very real. There's still an awful lot we don't know about it. And it's still extremely contagious. It hasn't had a holiday just because it's a holiday where you might be, or the seasons have changed and the weather's warming up. Here in Australia, it's getting colder. But it's sort of like we all seem to have become numb to it all, that we're all looking for the easy way out. Oh, well, if I don't think about it, it won't affect me. I don't have to do this just because I don't want to. Or I don't have to wear a mask because I'm not sick. Well, it's a matter of personal responsibility that I think we all need to not just look after ourselves and our immediate family, but look after everyone else as well. Let's work upon the score that I might be germ-ridden and I'm going to pass something on to you. And even if it isn't COVID-19, I might pass on the common cold. I might pass on a gastric bug. Who knows? I mean, there's lots of viruses going around, not just COVID-19. So I think we could all be a little bit more conscious of our fellow man and woman around the world. So continuing on with that, the other two planets that are sitting in Capricorn, and I've spoken about these for weeks and weeks and weeks on the show, is Pluto, the planet of transformation. Been sitting in Capricorn since about 2007, will be there till about 2022. So nearing the end of his run in Capricorn. Now, Pluto's job is to educate us, is to make us delve under the covers. It's about resurrection. It's about renewal. It's about throwing things out that no longer work. It's bringing the hidden stuff to the surface. It's asking us to completely transform the way that we look at the world, the way that we do business, the way that governments perform, the way that we collectively as a globe are attacking our planet. We need to sort of tackle issues like global warming. We need to look at what have we learnt out of this pandemic? What can we use in a positive way taking it forward? Is it now that a lot of people are going to work from home over the future? Is it, we're going to have schooling done in a different way? Are we going to look at the different ways that we can create new industries and create new jobs? There's lots of things there that can be completely transformed that can also help the planet, but also help us not fall back into that pattern of going back and doing everything the way that we used to do it, even if it was broken, just because it's familiar. We've got Pluto holding hands or conjunct Jupiter, the planet of expansion and opportunity. Now, Jupiter is one of those planets that he's big. He loves to do everything in a big, dramatic sort of way. But it's also the planet that says, let's unite as a globe. He has no boundaries when it comes to sort of looking at things and saying, well, this is your border and this is my border. He says, let's collectively all hold hands and do it together. So Jupiter is showing us that there's new ways to look at things, to expand our mind, to sort of, think outside the square, to look at new ways, new solutions to the problems at hand. Then we've got both of those planets conjunct or holding hands with Saturn, who is actually in Aquarius. Now, Saturn's the planet of discipline. Saturn sort of says to you, I've got the big stick, let's get practical, let's get logical here. But Saturn's also in the sign of Aquarius, which is a different sign. which is giving us those light bulb moments. So Saturn's sort of saying, let's think outside the square, let's find something different to focus on. Let's sort of get some ingenuity here. Let's start looking at different ways of solving the problem, listening to someone else's abstract idea and giving it some thought, not just dismissing it. So I think it's rather an exciting time that we live in, even though it's a scary time with the pandemic and everything is still very unknown. And, I don't believe we're anywhere near on top of it. And that's looking at it from an astrological point of view. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm just going from what I see astrologically. And I don't think we're anywhere near a conclusion or an ending to this. And we all do have to play our part. Now, the other parts of the astrology that jumped out at me this morning was the emphasis of planets sitting in Gemini. Now, Gemini is the planet of air. It's the planet of versatility. It is the sign of the twins, and it's sort of saying to us we can almost have two different opinions or two different ways of looking at things running parallel together, and neither one's right, wrong, or indifferent, but they can both comfortably cohabitate together. Now, we have the sun, that's your sun sign is in Gemini, so we can expect lots of ideas, lots of press releases, lots of people getting up, beating their chest, saying, look at me, I've got the answers to everything. We also have to be also aware of fake news or things that are coming from unreliable sources. Now, I know most of you have got, your common sense hat that you pull out of the closet and wear that. We need to do that a little bit more so than normal, particularly if we're looking at all forms of social media. Not everything that's written there is truthful. You need to sift through it and see what sits comfortably with you, that's your truth, that what you believe in. And make sure that you have a balanced view of when you listen or read reports or listen to scientists or whatever, look at both sides of the equation. And the same is to be said for any politics that comes into all of this too. Look at both sides of the equation. Neither one's never all right and the other one's all wrong. There's a balance of both. So we've got the sun sitting in Gemini, not holding hands, but just sort of sitting there. They're all in the same playground together. With Venus, the planet of love and affection. Now, Venus is retrograde at the moment. I spoke about that last week on the show. So this is going to be asking us to really delve inside of ourselves and ask ourselves, what is it that we really love? And we're not always talking about romance in this, the things that make us smile, the things that make us feel whole and complete. We may find here that we're going to get some new ideas or some new inspirations about hobbies or work or something moving forward. We might just have a fresh, different approach at how we're going to deal with our personal relationships. It may just be we're going to have a different version of ourselves and turn around and say, well, I don't need so many material things in my life. I'm quite comfortable and happy with just a simple life. Whatever it is for you, it'll be your own personal journey. Now, the final planet there in Gemini is the planet Mercury. Now, I found this really interesting because Mercury is at home in Gemini, and Mercury loves being back at home. He sort of he beats his chest and says, look at me, aren't I important, aren't I special? And I'm going to get out there and scream and dance and jump up and down, and we're going to see a lot of press releases and we're going to see a lot of people with a lot of things to say, and they all believe that they're incredibly important and they're the only one that's right. And again, I must err on the side of caution. Always make sure that you listen very carefully to both sides of the argument. Now, having said that, this last week, there's been a few announcements worldwide where they're trialling some vaccines, and some of them have gone from stage 1 and looking to go into stage 2, and they're actually starting to do some human trials. I know there's one in England, there's one in the USA, and there's also one here in Australia that they announced yesterday that they're starting to do human trials on. So fingers crossed. It doesn't matter where the vaccine comes from. It doesn't matter where the ideas come for treatments and things like that, as long as we collectively as a globe continue to work together. And that's the important thing, that we all need to be very focused and sort of give our support and send positive energy to these scientists around the world that are working around the clock to try and find some answers to this COVID-19. I think the bigger worry has been this new inflammatory illness that's coming out in children around the world. I heard some alarming figures earlier this morning how many there is in the US. It's gone from, a handful of cases last week to well over 300. This is starting to become quite a scary situation because they're starting to link this to COVID-19 as a secondary sort of illness or something that sort of develops a little bit later on. I hope they get to the bottom of that. We don't want to see our children sick. That's sort of certainly not as palatable. It's bad enough hearing that adults are sick, but when we start to hear little children are sick, and are fighting for their life, I think that tugs at everybody's heartstrings. The last thing we want to see is our little people sick. So leaving on a positive note, it's a good week to sort of really look inside yourself, sort out what your plans are, what your directions are for the future, and sort of almost make it like another New Year's resolution starting on the 1st of June. How about we all do that this week? Start a new Year's resolution and some new plans and things that we want to achieve before the end of the year. We're going to talk to Courtney in Adelaide. How was it this morning in South Australia, Courtney? Cold?
Oh, nice and fresh, yeah.
Yes, I'm sure it is. How are you, dear? How can I help you?
I'm good. I just wanted some relationship advice.
Okay. So, all right, the first thing I'm picking up as far as relationships, Courtney, it's like a seesaw. Things go up, things go down. Now, I'm not sure whether that's with the current situation that you're in or whether it's just you've been doing a lot of analysing and a lot of soul searching in this lockdown period where you've really sort of looked at everything right across the board. I did feel that there was a relationship there at the moment, Courtney. Is there one sort of there hanging on by a thread?
Yeah, it's an ex.
Yeah, but it's sort of like they were showing it to me like it was hanging on by a thread. It was sort of like, do I cut it and set it free or do I reel it in a little bit more? Look, it's not my place to tell you what to do. All I can do is share with you what I'm picking up from your soul. And your soul's saying to me that you're not ready to let go just yet. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that this is the right situation for you. What it means is that you still feel as if there's potential there or the possibility that maybe, just maybe, a very slim chance that we can pull this together and get it right. Now, while your soul is still feeling that way, it's not time to get the scissors out and cut the piece of string, or the thread that's holding the two of you together. I feel what is coming about this relationship is over the last few months, there's been some pretty, I was going to say in-depth conversations, but they haven't been consistent. It's sort of like a bit here and a bit there, and it's like, well, okay, now we've brought this to the surface, now let's sit down and sort it out. And then he sort of says, oh, but I don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. We just unearthed something major here, something that we could deal with together and strengthen our relationship. And it's like he's gone back down the hole into his burrow and says, I don't know what you're talking about. That's probably the biggest issue I see with the relationship, Courtney, is he's not able to communicate on a level that you feel you can make progress. Now, that's something that, it's very difficult to try and retrain somebody, and I'm using retrain, when they've never been encouraged from a little person to open up, to talk about their feelings, to whatever. You're asking somebody to do something that is very uncomfortable to them. Now, I'm not saying that we throw a relationship out the window because of that, but what we have to do is find ways here that you do it in little pieces, like you've been doing, and look at that. Each little piece is a piece in the bigger jigsaw puzzle. If we've got a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, we might have got 3 pieces that we've been able to join together. And then we might have a bit of a gap, and then we join another 3 pieces together. I don't actually feel that this relationship is over. I still feel there's work to be done, yes. But I feel also, too, you're looking at it and viewing this in different eyes than what you were at the beginning of the year. The beginning of the year, you were nearly ready to sort of tear your hair out and say, that's it, I'm done, can't do this anymore. But in the last month or so, it's like the way you're viewing this whole relationship as a whole has shifted. I'm not saying anything's drastically improved, but you've shifted what you'll accept and what you won't accept. So that to me then says, well, we're getting breakthroughs, but maybe not in quite the way that you thought or anticipated. Now, what I'm going to say to you as far as he's concerned, okay, you have a little breakthrough and he says, I don't know what you're talking about, even though we've unearthed a major Mount Everest. You leave it alone. And once you've done that and he doesn't sort of acknowledge it, then allow it to naturally bubble back up to the surface, because it will. Once we've exposed light to something like this, it will make its way to the surface again. And it's like peeling back a layer of onion. and we keep doing that
Yeah.
until we get that particular problem or that particular situation resolved. That will not only help you get to the bottom of it, but it'll also help build confidence in him that, hey, this is not this scary about talking about how you feel. Oh, I didn't realise I had
Yeah.
feelings in my tummy. Do you know what I mean? I didn't
Yeah.
realise I was scared or excited or whatever. So we're, in a sense, retraining him to be able to feel
Mhm.
comfortable and secure in the love he's got with you, Courtney, that he can be himself.
Yeah.
I don't think this
Yeah.
man's ever had somebody in his corner. You know, he might have had people that sort of said they were, but they really weren't. So we've got a man here
Yeah.
that's been kicked, not just when he's been down, but he's been kicked and battered and bruised all the way through his life. With every time he's allowed himself to get close to someone, they've always done the wrong thing by him. So, you know, you're sort of helping heal that, but you're not doing the work for him. You're guiding him, you're showing him, you're giving him that safe environment for him to do the work himself. And I think that's the major thing here, Courtney. I actually feel that, you
Yeah.
know, there's a lot of other areas of this relationship where the two of you are a perfect match. It's just this emotional stuff that you stumble on all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Do you think he would contact me, or do I have to make the contact?
Look, I think you're going to have to be the one that contacts him, because I think he's lacking in confidence in reaching out to you again, because what if she says no? Do you know what I mean? He couldn't deal with that sort of rejection. So
Yeah.
was there an illness or something around him last year? Was there a physical illness?
Mental illness, but not physical.
Okay, but did that affect something on the physical? Did he sort of have to change his work hours or something like that?
Yeah, he was struggling to like go out and do stuff, and yeah.
Right, okay. Because to me, that's still sort of, he's still in that space, sweetie. So I would certainly reach out to him. Anyway, Courtney, that's where I've got to leave. I've got to head across to Sonia in Melbourne now, but I'll keep you in my prayers, sweetie. Are you there, Sonia? How are you this morning? Hello, Sonia. How's the weather in Melbourne?
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Sonia. How can I help you this morning? Hello, Sonia. Do you have a question for me, sweetie?
Yeah, there's a guy I'm in love with, and it's been bothering me for a while, and I've just been wondering if you can let me know how he feels about me.
Okay. All right. The gentleman in question, I think, is very shy. It's not that he doesn't find you attractive, and it's not that he doesn't feel comfortable being, in your energy, or sort of, he smiles when I ask him about you, but I think he's a very, very shy man who I don't think's had a lot of, shall we say, a lot of girlfriends in his life. You know what I mean? Like he feels very inadequate when it comes to that. So where did you meet him, sweetie?
I've known him all my life, and his name's Andy, and he's had an ex-wife, and he has had a lot of girlfriends.
Yeah, but he still strikes me as being quite shy. I mean, he might have had a lot of girlfriends or had a lot of girls in his life, and he might have been married, but he still seems to be shy when it comes to being sort of asking someone out or, reaching out. Maybe he's shy with you because he's known you for so long that he sort of doesn't want to make a fool of himself.
But do you feel that he's interested in me, or?
I do, but I just don't think it's the right time at this moment. I don't think anything's going to really manifest there till about August or September. So has there been some changes around him in this last couple of months? Did he just move home or something like that? Because I keep seeing changes of residence around him.
Yeah, there is a lot of changes around him.
Yeah, and I feel those have to settle down before he'll reach out to you, sweetie.
What's that?
Those changes that are in his life at the moment, he needs to get those sorted out before he'll reach out to you, as in sort of like, let's go on a date or something like that. He's got stuff there from the past he's got to sort out. There's some legal situations there too. So is there something to do with the ex-wife that he's still got to sort through? So
Okay,
all
I'm
of
not
that's
sure
got to
about
be
that.
out of the road before he'll make his make advances towards you. But I know he feels comfortable with you, Sonia.
He does.
Yeah, he
He's
does.
still looking
I
progressive.
don't know that I'd put love in the same sentence, but I know he feels comfortable with you. Every time I ask him about you, he's got a lovely smile on his face. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's not that he doesn't find you attractive. I think he does, but I think he's just sort of making sure that he hasn't misinterpreted the situation because he's known you so long that, he's got to make sure that you really do, have twinkly eyes towards him, not just your friends.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And like, we had a really strong connection 2 years ago.
Right.
And it was a really strong connection. Like, I can't explain it, but it was really strong. And I thought he loved me then a lot. And we sort of got serious together because we used to joke and laugh and everything together. And then we got serious at the same time, so we did have a strong connection. So do you think things will manifest in the future?
I do. And what happened 2 years ago? Was there some sort of problem there with the ex-wife? Did she rear her head again and sort of upset things between the two of you?
She doesn't know about us.
No, but she seemed to be sort of putting pressure on him. Yeah, but she seemed to be putting pressure on him for, I don't know, sorting stuff out or something. That's one of the reasons why I think he pulled away from you a bit, sweetie.
Okay.
But I do feel he's on his way back, and I do think things will get a lot stronger from about August, September onwards, Sonia.
You feel we will be together?
I do, but there's not a great deal of communication before August or September, sweetie. So that's where we're going to need to leave it. We've only got seconds left of the show. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us again here on A1R Psychic Radio, here on Moonstruck TV. You can always go to my page on Facebook called Amanda Hall Psychic Shows and catch up on previous episodes. This is show 166, so I hope you have an absolutely amazing week. And don't forget to send lots of love and healing to everybody around the world this week. We all need it. We all need to sort of have some positive, I think, sparkly sort of energy in our lives. So until next week, bye for now.